Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sassuti, along with the Dark Wing, Mr. Brian Daly.
What up?
And the Broken One, Rob Povia.
Yo, anyone know where to file adoption papers for Carter Hart? I'm asking for a friend.
I don't find that too suspicious that you have like a heart pillow sitting like right next to you. You know, that's not suspicious at all. By the way, can you find Gritty? I just found him, actually. But hopefully you guys can too this week. Anyway.
I didn't find him 2 weeks for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Rob's getting very good at this.
I'm just getting really bad.
Yeah. We'll let the public decide on that one. Let the comments roll in on that.
Yeah, they're not going to go in my favor.
How do you know? Maybe they'll be favorable. How do you know? All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We are brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. Listen, man, you never know what life's going to throw at you. You may have something that causes you some pain, maybe hopefully not an injury, but after you get all the recovering, you still feel some pain. You need to get that taken care of. Maybe also you have some stressors in life. You just need a moment to relax and just let it all go. Go to Specialized Physical Therapy. Dr. Paul Vidal, he'll take care of you. Find him in Burlington, Princeton, and you can also find him Burlington, Princeton, and Cherry Hill. Thank you. Jesus. Thank you, Mind, for deciding to work there. Anyway.
2 weeks in a row, you fucked it up. One more time, you're out.
No. Okay, Rob, here, you do it.
No.
All right. Anyway, yes, Burlington, Princeton, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. That's where you can find them, and you can make an appointment at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. We got Rich chiming in. Ooh, wait, what did I miss? Oh, you missed a lot.
Just, shots at me. What else is new?
And Joe's saying, on vacation in Grand Lakes and Rocky Mountain, Colorado. Oh, nice. But got to watch a little bit of the first round playoff Hockey Happy Hour show. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you chiming in.
Always appreciate you chiming in. Love when he tags us in the Real Talk group, man.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today it is time to get started on our first official playoff show, since now the playoffs have officially begun, because the NHL didn't make the qualifiers officially a part of the playoffs. So with that...
I'm good with that. Playing games,
playoffs, whatever. NHL, Gary Bettman can go suck a dick. Anyway, so on to the quarterfinals. Here
but
we
meanwhile,
go.
he's the only one pulling this off flawlessly.
For now. No, he still managed to get heat by, having the refs and having the NHL fine Rod Brindamore. But we'll talk about that later on. Anyway, let's focus on this, though, folks. The NHL quarterfinals have begun, and as such, the Philadelphia Flyers, we are in the playoffs, we are in the shit now, and we are facing the Montreal Canadiens, and boy, oh boy, it was a bloodbath to start off this series, and it's only just gotten started, folks. Did it get feisty? It did, but it got even more feisty towards the end. The hits were just all over the fucking place in that third period, but Flyers and the Canadiens starting off with, Flyers do get the win, 2-1. Ugly win, but they count just as much as the pretty ones. Same as goals. Even if you score ugly, they still count. With that being said, though, first period began. Flyers were looking okay. Montreal started to turn things around there. After the period came to a close, the Flyers were already up 1-0, getting their first power play goal of the playoffs. They were tied for last, ironically, with the Montreal Canadiens. So hopefully that gets that power play going, that goal. Then we go to the second period. Montreal. My God, that was a terrible second period. The Flyers were absolutely getting outplayed, outmuscled, out everything by the Montreal Canadiens. Canadiens then tied it up, but then just the hockey gods just saying, fuck you, Montreal, you don't get to do that. Literally a little aggressive play by Sanheim. He shot the puck towards the net. and then deflects down by Joel Farabee into the pads. Well, not really into the pads, but it does hit Carey Price. Winds up on the ice right in front of Farabee. He pots the puck into a wide open net. We're back up 2-1 just like that. Montreal didn't even have a chance to get their goal announced, which is always nice to see. And the Flyers held on to that precariously throughout the second period. And then finally, we go to the third period. Flyers started to look a lot better. Got much better opportunities against Montreal. Montreal did come back with some fire, though, after getting a big penalty kill there. By the way, Montreal's goal was also on their power play, so they, too, got their first power play goal this postseason.
That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see what monkey was going to come off the back of the Flyers first. Were they going to give up a goal on the penalty kill or actually score one on the power play? Well, we got both.
Yes, we got both. But in the end of the day, Montreal had that late period surge. They were looking real scary there. Hart stood up on his head and did it throughout the entire game. All I could say is, thank God we have Carter Hart. Some teams have goal scoring. Some teams have a player like Patrick Kane or what have you. We have Carter Hart. Thank God we have Carter Hart. All I could say is, though, after that game, we're in for a long one, gentlemen. We are in for a long one with the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, I said from the get-go, this series wasn't going to be a cakewalk. Montreal, yeah, despite the record, they're a bad team according to the record. They're not that bad. They're a good team. They're getting a lot of young guys starting to really step up. Shea Weber's healthy, and he's playing at a high level. It's going to be a 6-game series, boys. Montreal isn't going to go down without a fight. We saw that yesterday. They came out in the first period. They came out hard. Second period, you saw them really step up, taking advantage of Flyers' turnovers in their zone. Unfortunately for them, they weren't really able to turn any of those turnovers into goals. Carter Hart really standing on his head, seeing the puck well, going left to right, never really losing sight of the puck, keeping himself in really good position to make save after save after save. Montreal was able to break through for one, but it's going to be a tough series, and we're starting to see some of the physical play come out towards the end of the game. You're going to see a little bit more of that tomorrow afternoon, but it's not going to be an easy series for the Flyers. This isn't going to be a cakewalk like people think it's going to be, and I don't know why they think it will be. It's the NHL playoffs; anything can happen.
Especially this year. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, brother. All good. That's how it goes with the remote shows. No, I was just going to say, anyone expecting that maybe going into the qualifying round were justified against Pittsburgh, but after seeing how they handled Pittsburgh, if you were still thinking that way, well, you might be Mikey Miz on the radio who doesn't know jack shit about hockey because, Montreal is a team that loves to clog up the neutral zone. They like to suck the energy out of you and displace that energy into their own game. And that's what we saw. And that was the biggest surprise to me for game one in comparison to the round robin games was the immense energy that the Flyers were outputting in those 3 games versus the lack of energy in comparison to the Habs in this game. It was mind-boggling, where it went. But if you look deep into the game, that's what the Canadians do to you. You know what I mean? And you got to play that grinding game with them. You know what I mean? You got to get down in the trenches. And like Maddie opened up the show with, it was an ugly game, but it's still a W. We were complaining to each other via text, all 3 of us, that we're playing horribly, but yet the Flyers never trailed in that game. Yeah. So as the series moves on, you got to shift that style of play back into what's in your strong suits. And I do believe that's what you'll see. And in the meantime, to your point, Maddie, it's wonderful having a younger version of Price in your locker room. What joy it must have been for that 21-year-old to play like that and have that type of game against his idol, the guy he grew up watching.
And I'm really
Abdul
glad
on top of it.
Yeah. And I'm actually really glad you brought up Carey Price because he played out of his mind last night.
He did.
Had a great save on Scotty Lawton, who pretty much had a wide open net. Probably the save of the decade. Definitely save of the playoffs thus far. Best save in August hockey of all time, and I'm stealing that line from Keith Jones. But he's the type of goalie. He's going to step up in the situations where he needs to step up, and you've seen it his entire career. Yeah, he's had off games, but if this is a sign of things to come, Carey Price is going to be a big problem for the Flyers, and if they want to beat him, they got to do what they did a little bit yesterday, and you're not going to beat him on the first. You're going to have to try and beat him on the second and the third, which is how Joel Farabee got his. He got the first shot on, rebound came right back to him, and he pumped it home. It's going to be the second and third. You got to pump the pucks to Price, get him moving, get him out of place, and it's not going to be an easy victory. But if you use that formula, and you keep throwing pucks at him, getting second and third chances, you're going to get a few through.
Yeah, and you got to win games like this. I mean, you're going to have games like this on the road to the Cup. And to see that they still won this game despite not playing their A game, and absolutely, Rosca, the Canadians will not quit. And to match that no quit attitude, it's tough. But you see this team responds to their opposition, right? When the Flyers played Tampa Bay in the round robin, they took it to another level and matched their intensity on the forecheck, matched their intensity on their speed rush into the zones. And, it paid off in spades. Now, in this game, we matched that grit. That's what we need to do in this series is match that grit in order to still be successful. But, in the end, I feel the Flyers will be able to handle Price. They will be able to handle this Montreal squad, but it's going to be a longer series than most people had in mind.
Absolutely. Goal just got waved off here to start the third period between Boston and Carolina. Carolina scored. They waved it off immediately.
Kicked in?
Okay.
No, goaltender interference.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw it there.
But with that, we have one thing that we are going to bring up now, the poll question. And it is all related to that game one in the quarterfinals. Did the Flyers play well in this game one? Agree or disagree? And I'm on the disagreeing side. I think that second period sinks us in terms of how we've been playing. But here's the thing, and I'm going to say this right now. I had a worry in the back of my head when we were getting ready to face Montreal because I saw how they played Pittsburgh. They played them aggressive. They played them hard. They didn't give them a chance to breathe. Pittsburgh's the type of team that would rather have you just try to stop them and just hopefully you're completely blindsided by their finesse game or their ability to pass the puck and score. That's not what Montreal did. Montreal said, listen, we may not be able to match them completely on skill, but what we can do, outsnarl them. And that's exactly what they did. They outsnarled the Penguins and sent them packing in 4. So with that, they come to against Philadelphia. You knew they were going to bring that game against the Flyers, and that's what's going to happen. I'm going to say this. We were not ready. In that second period proved it. We were not ready for what Montreal was bringing to the table.
Yeah, they didn't make the adjustments. Absolutely.
But, to your point, Rob, though, we still didn't trail. We managed to tie the game up. A little bit of aggression on there and a little bit of puck luck. I would say it's a combination of both. All of that, we still managed to get the win, though, and still live to see another day. And now we know what to expect from Montreal. Now we know how they want to counter us. Now we know, okay, this is what they're going to do to try to throw us off our game. We know it now. Now we should be prepared for them. But at the same time, Montreal's going to know this is what the Flyers like to do. So this is what we got to do to continue to get them off their game. So we have to respect that. But on the positive, we now know what to expect when we get in there from Montreal. So my fear did come true, but at least the Flyers still walked out with the win. But I have to disagree. Flyers did not play a great game one, but luckily they still came out on top.
I agree that, they didn't play well. So I'm with you, Maddie. Complete disagree. They didn't play well. But I don't think they weren't not ready for Montreal. I think they were ready. You saw in the first period, they had the jump. They played well. They competed. They were very back and forth. Second period, I think they just got way too sloppy and way too careless with the puck. And I don't think that has anything to attribute to being ready or not being ready for Montreal. I think it's got a lot to do with what Rob said and not making the adjustments that needed to be made in the second period. You saw them make the adjustments into the third. They played better in the third. But, into that second period, like I said, they were very careless with the puck. They rushed passes, not taking clean shots, giving up way too many good opportunities in front of Carter Hart. But luckily, he was standing on his head. Otherwise, you're looking at a completely different situation, maybe even a completely different outcome for the Philadelphia Flyers. Instead of being up 1-0, they could be down 0-1.
Oh, absolutely. With a lesser goalie, it would have been an 0-1 situation. If we had rolled in any of the other Monday morning quarterbacks we had in the past for goaltending, yeah, we'd be down 0-1 right now. Absolutely.
And despite the lack of true-natured home and away games during the series at the Hub City in the bubble, it's still important to take that game one. To get out to that 1-0 lead. Your percentages to win the series just skyrocket, I believe, to like 72% roughly take that series. Even though it's not like you have to now win on the road per se. But yet, we've seen the last change really come up key in a lot of these playoff games and the qualifying round.
Absolutely. And you know what? You're right, Rob, because for the Flyers, they've won. It was about somewhere between 72 to 75%. When they win game one, they win the series. And the last time the Flyers won a playoff series, the guy in net was in 8th grade. So this is a pivotal series for this team.
Yeah. Not looking like it, though. I mean, both him and Farabee, they look like they're grizzled vets, man.
Yep.
The calm, cool nature of Hart in the net, the hands, the decision-making by Farabee was exquisite in this game. And I'm not even talking about the goal. His passes were crisp. A lot of lost passes, opposed to the first 3 games in the round robin where they were passing, especially well. So many times it looked like they were passing, or the Flyers players were passing it directly to the Canadiens players. I mean, directly. Gostisbehere had a terrible game. And I'm not about to put him down because he has been so good since coming back, since being healthy. But this isn't the right series to utilize him. If I were AV, I would put Robert Hagen back in game 2, where, don't get me wrong, you do need goal scoring against, you need against any team to win a series. That's a Mike Milbury quote, by the way, which we'll talk about a little later, I'm sure. But
I got some things I got to say about him.
But basically, they just weren't passing well in that game, and it showed a lot of key turnovers, a lot of sloppiness. So I disagree with the poll too, fellas. I mean, power play needs much improvement. I mean, and it was great seeing Jake Voracek coming back and scoring a goal. I even told Maddie that I had suspected that they were going to move him up to the first line in a line adjustment that never really came about. I was surprised, especially the continuity that it would create between Farabee and Knack, which we've seen in past games. But I guess it's tough to take Farabee out because he's playing so well. But in either event, power play needs much improvement. They got to come out energized. They can't come out flat, it was a little bit more in the second period, but they were certainly flat in not matching the Habs' intensity really until that Farabee goal, near the game's end. They need to make those adjustments, like I said before, to play the Habs, who are just a different kind of team than the elite, faster-paced, higher-scoring teams of the round robin. Grind, forecheck hard, make smart passes, and everything's going to solve itself, honestly, at that point through those efforts.
And don't be later on in the game.
And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to score ugly. Get in Price's face. Get in his kitchen. Make him as uncomfortable. Not that it's possible to make him uncomfortable, but in a playoff situation. But make him blind. Don't let him breathe. Just pounce on him.
I'm going to say something that might piss off some of our listeners from Flyers Nation group, right, who are just quick to down JVR, right? That's what JVR was doing that quite well in game 1. He was getting to the dirty areas. He was he narrowly missed a wide open shot. It just tipped right off the edge of, blade of his stick.
Yeah.
That's the thing with JVR is that he does a lot of the intangibles at this stage of his career that don't show up on the score sheet. So people are quick to being like, oh, he should be benched for Farabee when like everybody else is healthy, including Raffle. And I disagree. You need guys that have been there, done that, can get in the ugly areas, like Maddie said, and help score some goals. I was reading Greg's comment, goals.
I'm so happy that he said, absolutely not. I was about to slap him and take his fan card away. Love you, Greggy Poo. Miss you, buddy.
We might have to talk about Mike Milbury now, then.
Yeah, Joseph,
since he brought it up.
How fucking annoying is Mike Milbury? He seems pissed that he has to be in the Toronto bubble. He's just a miserable prick. He really is. Like, when they look, I bet you the NBC guys are just like, oh God, I gotta be stuck with this fuckhead. Do I really have to do the game with Milbury? Can I please get Jonesy? Can you give me Jonesy? I will take Jonesy, please. I don't care if he chews like a fucking giraffe. Please, I will take him over Milbury, please, for fuck's sake. Like, seriously.
I don't even care that he's miserable. The thing that really pisses me off is his biasness.
Yes.
Especially in this Boston game.
Oh, yeah.
You can clearly tell that he's rooting for the Bruins. He's making it very obvious, like, so the best example I can give, if anybody's watching, towards the end of the second period, which was just when me and Robbie jumped on, and me and Robbie already talked about this. There was a play, a scrum in front of the net, and Timo Teravainen wound up tripping Torrey Krug. So, yeah, we were just talking about this. And Torrey Krug was skating backwards. Skated right into Timo Teravainen. Or, sorry, it was Andrei Svechnikov, not Teravainen. And Milbury's like, oh, yeah, there should definitely be a penalty because Torrey Krug got clobbered. What? What do you mean he got clobbered? Are we watching the same game? He skated into another player and fell backwards. Are you kidding me? And to top it all off, if you want to talk about miserable, in a 5 overtime game where all of us would have loved to have been in that situation, you're going to sit there and bitch and complain when you're a part of the history of being a part of the 4th longest game in NHL playoff history, in NHL history. And you're going to sit there and complain that it's taking too long? Are you kidding me? Somebody get this guy out of NBC. Fire his ass. It's ridiculous.
And Joe's saying it right here. Did you hear him in the 5 OT? This is ridiculous. They need to look at shortening these games. How long do they need in between whistles? He is such a bitch. Yeah, he is. And here's the thing. So now all of a sudden he then goes on to support the idea that you have a shootout to determine the playoffs. Absolutely fucking not. Because it's one thing in the regular season to do it. That's fine. It's a regular season game. The only thing that's on the line is 2 points in the standings. But when you're talking about the playoffs, especially if, say, the Stanley Cup Finals, think about this. The shootout is completely unfair to certain teams, and it's way fair to other teams. Some teams have great goaltending, and so their goalie's ready for a shootout any day of the week and can easily kill a team. Another team may have been on a run and just have a hot goalie at that moment, but the shootout is the nightmare that they don't want. Other teams have skilled players. Other teams don't have the skilled players that it takes. 3-2.
No, 3-2 Carolina. Dougie Hamilton just scored.
Nice. Against the ex-mates. You gotta love that revenge narrative, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But overall, like I said, I do not support that. Anyone who does support the idea of a shootout in playoffs, I have to ask, you must not watch playoff hockey. Yeah. You only watch regular season. That's the only thing I could say, and that's just ridiculous to me. You never have a shootout. International's one thing, but NHL, Stanley Cup, fuck no. Absolutely not.
It's so rare that, most of these playoff games go past maybe double, sometimes triple overtime. It's not that often that this happens. Milbury's just a miserable. It's like you said. He's just a miserable prick. He has nothing better to do than to bitch and complain. If you don't want to be a commentator, don't be a commentator. Sit in the studio.
Right.
Sit in the studio and break everything down. I'll take your job. I'll go do it. I'll probably do a hell of a lot better job than he does.
Yeah.
Hell,
You know, you guys are right.
Go ahead. I want to hear what you guys say.
You guys are right about Milbury. I mean, he is biased. You know, I was just talking with Anthony in the chat. He played for Boston for what, like 8-10 years. He coached for Boston. Of course, he's going to be biased for Boston. But that's still not excuse, though, because you see Brian Boucher, who played for the Flyers, and he is impartial. You see Keith Jones, who is impartial. So even though he only played a short time in his career for the Flyers, but works for the Flyers as a Flyers broadcaster. So, obviously he's going to – there's allegiances and then there's doing your job, right? But I'm starting to actually like Milbury, and I'll tell you why, right? You need that heel commentator like wrestling, to tie this to lazy booking, which preceded the show, which you can catch after we're off on demand all the time, right? You need that guy to be causing conversations like this. It's actually good for a game when a guy's bad at his job. Do you see where I'm going with that?
I got you. So you want him to be Mike the King Milbury. Gotcha.
Right. Because some of the things he says are freaking hilarious. I forget which game it was. Maybe it was the Tampa-Columbus game. And they were talking about this minor infraction. And, his assessments of what's a penalty and what's not a penalty is far off. But his statement was on point. And he goes, that penalty wasn't so much a felony, but maybe a local misdemeanor. That was a great description. That was just fantastic.
Yeah, to Joe's point, and Prism, I saw your comment too. I'm going to jump on that real quick in a second. Sharp, he says Sharp is anti-Philly. It's okay to be anti-whatever city that you don't like.
They traded him away. He's like, fuck Philly. That's what he's saying.
Well, yeah, but my point is you can be that anti whatever city, you don't like a certain team, whatever. I don't care.
Right.
But give a biased opinion. If you think they're playing well, they made a great play, say it. No one's going to kill you for it.
And in terms of all these former players that they're bringing in for in-studio and commentary, man, I hate to say this pun, but he's pretty sharp.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. I love him.
I didn't even mean that to be funny, but it is. But I mean, the hockey points he makes are very spot on, what you would expect from a player. But the way he alliterates, the way he speaks, the lack of ums, uhs, what we work on as broadcasters, just nailed it from day one. And let's face facts, they need a new pretty boy after Jeremy Roenick. Well, there you go. That's your start.
Can we yell puckies instead of puppies? I love it. To Prism's point a couple seconds ago, Prism said that he wanted the revenge game. Let's be real. And we could talk about the series here in a second, boys. And Chicago didn't really have much of a chance against Vegas. Vegas is just a better all-around team.
So let's take a look here real quick at some of these comments that we missed here before. Let's see here. Horakovsky saying, I got my beer ready for Matt. So with that, I'm 2 sips already. This is
probably like 3 or 4 at this point.
Probably. Anthony saying, I like Jeremy Roenick as a commentator, but he got fired. And yeah, he did after he made
I think he got wrongfully terminated, in my opinion.
Yeah, the whole thing got blown way out of proportion. Because after that, he apologized, and I think the lady that he made the comment about, she actually accepted his apology. So
yeah, Catherine Tappan. I would have said the same thing, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure most people.
She's an attractive lady.
Yeah, and she's. Let's see here. Oh, Chrome. I love Jonesy on commentary. I'll take him in a heartbeat.
Absolutely, he's the best.
Let's see here. What else we got? Jake saying, "What's up, boys?"
Wait, let's before we go on to Jake. Troll Magnadons. She wants to know how far the Knights are going. I see him going to the Western Conference Finals again.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument to be made. Maybe they'll represent the West. It depends on how well they're playing going into the finals. But if they're playing like they are now, it's going to be real interesting to see who faces up against them and how they handle it.
And once we get through some of these comments, we should probably jump into that series and talk about that since they just have a game tonight.
Absolutely. So let's see here. Jake's saying, what's up, boys? I agree to the poll. If you're talking about just the first period, but they responded tremendously in the third, doing the poll question. He says, honestly, Flyers look terrible, but great teams find a way to win games. They shouldn't. Absolutely. That was from Joe. Don saying, what's up, fellas? Good luck to your guys, Flyers.
Appreciate it, brother.
Jake saying, I'm curious to see how the Canadiens respond after losing their coach for the series.
Yeah, that's going to be
Yeah.
interesting. And well wishes to Claude Julien, hoping for a speedy recovery. Pains in his chest, was hospitalized last night. Organization has come out and said it's not COVID related, which makes me kind of think he may have had a minor heart attack, or maybe some form of a panic attack or something along those lines. Just, hope for him to get better, get back to the game as soon as possible, and coach next season. Because otherwise, he blows my bracket if they win.
Yeah. And Joe's saying, whatever. I still took the Flyers in 4 in my bracket challenge. So far, so good.
Nice.
Nice. Let's see.
As long as they win the series, it doesn't matter. You're still going to move on, right?
That's true. And Prism said Carter Hart versus Carey Price, but I think he did mean that in a joking manner, equaling King Kong versus Godzilla.
I want to say it's like a David versus Goliath, but it's really not. It's it's the mentor versus the what would you call it? Mentee? I don't know. Mentee? I don't know. I don't know what you call it.
Teacher versus student.
There you go.
Teacher versus pupil. There you go.
They say, nah, Pove, don't want to agree all the time. My Flames and Islanders picks are looking nice right now.
Oh, stop it, Joe. You still puffing your chest, Joe? You still puffing your chest because the Islanders came back against the Capitals? Stop it. Nobody likes a bragger.
I mean,
and if we look at the first period, maybe even the first 2 periods, Washington was controlling that game like I told you that they would. You know what I mean? And they were looking poor defensively, but Montreal, I didn't take into account that Washington plays sloppy AF. You know what I mean? That's what they do. If you think Flyers were sloppy, man, that third period for the Washington Capitals was, I'm talking like deep diving on some girl's muff sloppy. You know what I'm saying? Like it was sloppy.
I'll tell you this though, Anders Lee did play a huge part in that comeback.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll explain how. When we get to that
let's
series.
give it up for the Asian players too. Anders Lee, Suzuki in the series for the Montreal Canadiens. Man, what a game! When you were talking about having lack of skilled players in the against Pittsburgh and now against the Philadelphia Flyers, you know what? I'm starting to disagree with you. I'm seeing a lot of skill, like a lot of diamonds in the rough here with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, they hit on a 19-year-old in the first round that was not expected to be a first-round pick. They wound up taking him 3rd overall. I'm blanking on his name. But, you got guys like Max Domi, who's still a very young stud. Right. And he's only going to get better. He's a very skilled player. Thomas Tatar.
He's not playing so well. They demoted him down to the 4th line, but that's still, maybe you're just trying to spread out your wealth a little bit.
Absolutely. And then you got Kotkaniemi, who's going to be a stud.
Yeah. Another diamond in the rough skilled guy. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thomas Tatar, you brought in for obviously a veteran position, and he's turned his career around a little bit in Montreal. He's the team's leading goal scorer. Right. Maybe that's not saying enough about that offense, or maybe saying too much. I don't know. But like I said, it's not going to be an easy series. What's up, Wills?
Yeah, Will's saying, what's up, my boys? I disagree. They really didn't play that well at all, but got the W. Carter is such a stud. Excitement is building, boys. Let's go.
15
That's all
to go.
That matters, baby. The W. That's all that matters.
Anthony's saying, don't sleep on the Islanders or Coyotes. I'm not sleeping on the Islanders. I don't really want to face them because they play well against the Flyers. But
I'm going to take a nap on the Yotes, though. I'll tell you that right now.
I mean, they had that ending of that third period, that freaking murdered them so poorly against the Colorado Avalanche. Unbelievable. But
yeah, Nazem Kadri wind up being a great trade for them.
Yeah,
really showing up here in the playoffs early. And I know a few Leafs fans that are not very happy about that trade right now. One is TSN's own Marissa Roberto. She's not happy about that.
I don't think. Yeah. Well, the Toronto fans have plenty of time now to talk about their displeasure with that Nazem Kadri because they're not even here. But let's see here. Finishing up these comment catch-ups here. Joe's saying Farabee and Thompson missed wide-open nets or Flyers win 4-1, and we're all saying sweep.
I wouldn't say sweep.
I don't know.
I don't know. The Thompson miss, though, was completely on him. Perfect pass, wide open net, just rushed a shot. He had time to just chill, let the puck settle for a quick second, maybe take like a second and a half more. You were looking at a 3-1 win.
Plus, Giroux hit a post, and he had a perfect opportunity there against Price as well. Trevor saying, "What's up, fellas?" And what I tell you, the Rangers sucked in the playoffs.
Technically, they never reached the playoffs. Just saying.
And Joseph saying, "Who is the guy on the Canadiens, Mete, or something like that?" Knack has 3 strides on him going in on a rush, and Mete caught up to him with ease and took the puck from Knack. Knack might be our fastest skater. The Canadiens are all fast.
They are. They're a very fast team, and that's something you got to worry about moving forward.
Prism's right, Kakanyemi.
Kakanyemi, he's gonna be a stud when he finally starts to really break out. And there's another guy that I'm blanking on his name. He's another young stud puppy. I can't think of his name. He's a left winger. I want to say it's 64. But anyway.
Perot or Dano?
No, not Dano. Dano's going to be good too.
Yeah.
He's another young player. He's been compared a little bit to Travis Konechny, but so is Brendan Gallagher, and you can see that in Gallagher's type of game. And Gallagher's another type of player that, he's he's going to get under
I already
your skin.
hate him. And it's only been one game.
Drew's a stud too. You're right, Anthony.
Speaking of Konechny and his game, did you see that little scrum that Konechny started after the play whistle down? He just does a little jab to one of the Canadians, like, "Yep, that's Konechny for you. That's our Konechny. Just always constantly starting shit. You gotta love it."
Anthony, what I will say is Druin is a stud in terms of the skill level, but it's been non-realized throughout his career. And he comes and waves and flashes, very streaky, kind of, like Ilya Kovalchuk light, minus the successful goal scoring. So I don't know if it's going to come together for Druin in the NHL. I kind of hope it does, just not in this series.
Yeah, I think it will. I just think Druin needs better players around him because you saw the flashes in Tampa when he was playing on the same line with Steven Stamkos. But then again,
but I was even more talking about that time when he had all those players around him. There's a reason why Tampa Bay let him go because of lack of performance.
That's true. His attitude didn't help either.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
He did have some problems with them.
He's got the LaFlemme. He's like LaFlemme.
Frank, bring up Trevor Harris's last question for us because I like that. I think it's a great question. Sheldon Kiefer, the man for the job in Toronto.
I'm actually more agreeing on Trevor's side of it. I feel Lavi would get more out of that roster since Toronto's more of an offensive team. Lavi's a very offensive-minded coach, so I think that would actually really benefit them at the end of the day. You say what you will, their defense has had their issues. I think that's the best way to put it. But their offense is one of those things where it's like that is so dangerous that offense really should be helping them. And it's had moments where it hasn't produced at all. It's like that's not good when you have talent like that on that roster.
And I think that's kind of Trevor's point, and I agree with him that, it's a loaded roster. You got all kinds of scoring offensive talent. You have a good defense and a solid goaltender. And you haven't won anything with it yet.
Yeah.
They should have won a cup, maybe 2 by now. So that being said, I think Lavi's a good choice. I think Gerard Gallant would be a good choice as well. Obviously, we're not going to see Mike Babcock go back there.
No.
For numerous reasons. But, yeah, if I'm the Leafs, I consider it. You didn't even get out of the qualifier. You were a favorite to win the series in the qualifier, and you didn't. You lost in Game 5 after having a 3-0 lead, and you blew it.
Yeah, and not only that too, they came back on that game in Game 4 and won it in overtime. You thought, okay, the momentum's on their side. They got to win this Game 5. They just took the wind right out of Columbus's sails. Then, nope, don't even score a fucking goal.
I agree with Trevor, too, that Tyson Barrie's been a bust as well.
Yeah, he hasn't really been doing all that much. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I would say in Toronto right now. They do need to get some kind of coach out there that can get that offense and get the most out of it, because this is unacceptable. If you're a Toronto fan, this is absolutely unacceptable. 3 first-round exits and not even making the playoffs technically in this year. If I was a Toronto fan, I would be pissed right now. I'd be beyond pissed right now with the organization.
I've seen a lot of memes of people in Toronto jerseys, like, sitting in the middle of a house fire and saying, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
I've seen memes of guys walking off of piers, in Toronto jerseys and bridges, and I think it's rough being a Phillies fan sometimes, especially when you just get swept by one of the worst teams in baseball. Again, it's got to be tough being a Toronto fan, knowing you have a good team and still not being able to do anything with it.
Yeah, they're Boston owned and operated. They can't beat the Bruins. They lost to the Capitals the first time they got into the playoffs with Austin Matthews. But then that one, you can kind of say, okay, that's their first time getting back into the postseason. They're facing Washington. You can kind of let that one roll off the shoulder. When you lose to Boston 2 years in a row, after having just lost in 7 games to them the previous year, it's like, at any moment, did you guys ever figure out how to play against these guys? Clearly they never did, and they lost the series because of it.
Speaking of Boston.
Oh, boy.
Under 2 minutes to go, still down a goal. What do you think about Tuukka Rask's comments after the round robin? Did you hear them?
No.
He said, "All right, boys, now it's really time to start playing hockey."
Yeah.
I would say that it would be arrogance, which I'm going to say, but you're on Boston. That breeds arrogance. So I can't really say I'm surprised he said that, in all honesty.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. Back during the qualifiers, before everything started, one of the things that I said was some teams are not going to take this round robin tournament seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Boston was one of those teams.
Yep.
Ever since then, first period the other day, they kind of got off to a bit of a slow start, but now they're playing their game. They're back to where they need to be. Granted, they're losing now, but it's a 1-goal game. There's a minute left. There's still plenty of time. And dear God, I have them winning their series. So I'm hoping for a goal here. But, it just goes to show you. Yeah, I know. It's, nope, that's not game. But, it just goes to show you, like, those guys didn't take it seriously. Like, even some of the coaches didn't take it seriously. You look at, Flyers are a good example. They took time to work on some things, and it worked out in their favor that they wound up winning, going 3-0. You got to the West, St. Louis was another team that didn't take it too seriously, wound up going 0-3 as well, starting to find themselves a little bit. Despite losing 5-2, it wasn't as bad as the score said. I did watch that game, and that's another game we'll get into in a few minutes. We need to talk about this Boston series right now.
Right. One quick thing I'll say on this point before we leave it is that it seems like that's, based on Rask's comments, that's kind of the vibe around the bubble, though. Because I even heard Booth say something about to the fact of now that the games count or it really matters. I think he said that something to that effect, and that's the vibe, right? That it really didn't make as much of a difference to these teams to be 1 through 4 because all these teams are great. You're going to have a tough matchup no matter where seed you lie in, and without true home ice with your fans, a little less onus on that. But I'm glad I didn't jump in with that point and allowed you to complete your point, Brian, in terms of serious, because even if they don't count in your mind, they count for your team, for your continuity, for getting that mojo from not playing together, for roughly about 4 months, having a small training camp and then rearing it back up again. And you're seeing the teams that took it seriously performing well in this first round versus teams that didn't take it seriously, not so much, despite Boston taking game 1, because I feel like Carolina outplayed them in game 1. And I'm not just rooting against Boston for my fanfare. I actually, in my bracket challenge, did pick Carolina to move on from the series
Go ahead.
Don't worry about it, bud. Because I'd love to see Brendan Moore coaching against his former team. That'd be such a great storyline, and that's how it would work in the seeding based on my other picks. Later, Trev.
Peace, Trev. He's saying St. Louis looks flat. To be honest, Vancouver got a great young core.
Yeah, we'll get into that series a little later. Trevor, you're gonna have to jump in a little bit later, or listen to it later tomorrow while you're at work. Because I got a couple great points on that.
So, Joe's saying Boston, Carolina, Islanders, Blue Jackets. Who would you rather play in round 2? Out of all of those second round opponents, which is not a fun list to go down by any stretch of the imagination.
Final.
3-2 final.
3-2 final. Carolina won. Series is tied at 1.
All right then. So with that, we'll come back to you on that one, Joe. But on to that series, the Boston Carolina series. Saying wait until Couturier gets started, the Flyers will be unstoppable. Coots being he's the best two-way player in the game, and Coots had a really big opportunity there. He laid a big hit down there. He is the best two-way player in the game. He shuts people down. That's what he does.
He's up there. He's one of two. He's one
Who's
of
the
two.
other
It's
one?
like 1A, 1B with him and Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, fuck Patrice Bergeron. He can suck a dick. Anyway, on to
He's
this.
old now. He's old.
Now.
He's old.
You can say
He's
that now,
old.
but if he was in a Flyers jersey, you would love it.
You're just too
Fuck yeah,
old.
but he's a
You're so
Bruin. Fuck yeah, I'd like Patrice Bergeron if he was a Flyer, but he's a Bruin, so he can go fucking die in a hole. Anyway, moving on. All right, so back to that. Speaking of the Bruins.
Love that guy.
The Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. Game number 1. Okay, let's talk about this one real quick. Get the elephant out of the room. The Rod Brind'Amour fine. I totally don't understand why the refs did not tell him what the call was on the ice. Because he's challenging the play. It's like, how are you going to tell a coach?
Wow.
How are you unfairly going to tell a coach, well, you can only make one challenge on one of the calls, and you don't tell him what the call is on the ice? What the fuck? Then how is he supposed to know what to challenge? How does he know that? He doesn't. So now he's got to flip a coin like he had said. He made that comment that he had to flip a coin on the challenge. And then what's even worse is that there's two sides to this. It's a blown call either way. Mrazek has his hand over the puck, so it should be a blown whistle. After that, puck comes popping free. So he's arguing goaltender interference because the whistle should have been blown. Then the pass with the hand. So then you're saying, okay, so then the hand pass happens, and then the goal gets scored, so that goal should not have been a goal because of the hand pass. So what you're telling me is, no matter what way this goes, you missed the call. But the refs are too fucking ignorant and too egotistical to admit that we blew a fucking call. Wow. It's like, listen, refs make mistakes. They're human. We know this. We know they make mistakes.
No, don't let them off the hook, man. The fucking refs have been terrible in these playoffs. Absolutely horrid. I'm not even talking in Flyers games. I'm talking universally overall. And it's a shame because everything else has been top-notch in this return to play. But the refs are apparently still back in the COVID pause. Wake the fuck up.
Yeah, I will say this. They can justify the fine. Does Rod Brind'Amour have a fair gripe with the refs? Absolutely. He should rip into the refs. But here's where I agree that he should have been fined. To say that the league is a joke. Those words out of his mouth as not just a head coach, but an employee of the NHL, to say that the league is a joke in any aspect, he should absolutely be fined for that.
Yeah.
But he had a fair gripe. The officials have not been good. There were a couple blown calls in there. Should they have called the whistle that quick? Maybe not. But, there was definitely a blown call in there somewhere. And he had a fair gripe. He's going to have another gripe tonight because there were a few calls that didn't go Carolina's way. And you know what? It's kind of how it falls sometimes. Sometimes he's going to be on the good end. Sometimes he's going to be on the bad. See, but as an NHL coach, you have to learn to watch what you say. Well, otherwise, you're going to get hit with something.
Now, fine with that. We'll take that, put that off to the side for a quick second, though. But let's talk about the situation with the ref just skating up to Brendamore. Now, how do you, as an official who's trying to call a fair, unbiased game, you're trying to not play, you're trying to call it down the middle. You don't have at least the decency or the fucking balls to walk up to skate up to Rod Brendamore and say, hey, this is the call on the ice. This is what you're challenging. Even if it's a call that he definitely feels like shouldn't have been out on the ice, at least you stood your fucking ground and didn't fucking cower behind, well, you got to challenge only one of them. Like, well, then tell him what the fucking call is, you jackass. How the fuck is he supposed to know what he's challenging? That coach's challenge is useful when you know what you're challenging. You can't do that. You can't just take the game out of the hands and say, oh, well, fuck you. I'm not telling you what the call is on the ice. Fuck you. How dare you not tell him what the fucking call is? You're supposed to call a fair game. How is that fair to Rod Brendamore and the Hurricanes? It's not fair by any stretch of the imagination. I don't give a shit if they're playing Boston. Who the fuck cares who they're playing? Call a fair game.
To the ref's defense, it didn't cost them the game, so it's not like it was a blatantly bad call, but it didn't cost them anything.
I know it didn't, but still, it's just one of the.
It's the principle. I get it.
Yeah, it's the principle.
I get it. No,
yeah.
I'm on board. 1-1, by the way. Dallas Calgary already. Not even 4 minutes into the game.
Okay. So with that though,
how about them apples? Let's go Dallas.
Let's talk.
3 times so far we got, and with that, I'm keeping count.
I'm doing it on purpose now. Like I'm gonna do it even more because I'm just gonna make sure that people get so freaking plastered that they put up the dumbest shit in the comments because I really just want to see it happen. I want to see drunk comments. That'd be great. Anyway, so
that first game, Boston, Carolina. I thought it was a very, very good game. Very back and forth. Not very often you get to wake up in the morning. You gotta get a playoff hockey game.
No.
So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very evenly matched game, very back and forth. Not really a ton going on. First period was a little bit of a feeler out. And, a couple goals scored. I'm going to tell you something. If Carolina wants a shot at beating Boston right now, their stars need to score. Sebastian Aho needs to start getting, seeing the Sebastian Aho from the qualifiers. Andrei Svechnikov needs to, he had a goal tonight, but he's got to find ways to get on the scores card a little bit more. They're using their speed to their advantage. They just, like tonight, they got some good scoring chances off of it because of it. So if they can keep doing that, they can beat Boston. But Boston's going to use their physicality to their advantage. They always have, and then they'll continue to do so.
I
missed it. What happened?
No earmuff warnings before you. Prism. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because you've been watching this show for how long? I don't censor myself.
You could have been talking about either one of us there.
Dean Jones. I agree with Dean Jones. That was one of the better saves I've seen in a long time. Yeah. Best save in August hockey.
Well, allow me to say this real quick before you get to Joe's comments, which I actually, you know what? Let me abridge and say this first. I've been chatting with Joe a lot on Facebook, and I found out that he's in the Air Force stationed down in Wichita, Kansas. So first of all, I want to salute your service, Joe. I want to salute the service of any men and women that are watching the show that proudly serve in the military. Thank you. First and foremost. Secondly, despite Carolina, and I sent this to you, Brian, in the text thread, that Carolina, after coming off a hot sweep of the Rangers, looked like they were skating in cement in that game 1. Mm-hmm. And it boggled my mind a little bit because, you could maybe see that in a normal scenario where a team sweeps another team and then has a little bit of a layoff before the next series begins. But when you're coming off 4.5 months of idleness, what's 3 days in between games really going to do? I was just surprised to see that. But the one guy that wasn't in cement, both in game 1 and in game 2, and got rewarded with a goal was who you said, Brian, Svechnikov. I should say the Bruins have not found an answer for him despite their success in game one. And I think he'll be the key to Carolina if they go on and win the series now that it's tied 1-1.
Well, the thing that kind of hurt Boston a little bit tonight was not having Pasta in the lineup. He pulled a Martin Gramatica. He celebrated the goal in overtime yesterday morning and wound up hurting himself. No details have been released on what happened, how long he's going to miss. But for those that were curious of why he was considered unfit to participate, he hurt himself celebrating the win. So
He has more time to knit those little sweaters to hold his Dunkin' Cold
oh my
brews
God, those
now.
Dunkin' Donut commercials crack me up. I
They
love
are
them.
great.
I love
Oh, man.
because he
That's
makes
the
fun
only-
of himself. I think that's the best part.
That is true. Oh, man. I will say, even though he is Bryce Blackwell, Flyers, baby, yeah.
Bryce,
And-
it's good, Bryce.
And I will say, out of all the Bruins that are currently on the team, the one I really wish was a Flyer is Pasta for those commercials alone, because, oh my God, the commercials he could make here would be just tremendous. But anyway.
Hey, give me Bergeron all day, every day, baby. One of the best two-way players in hockey. So
Not as good as Couturier. But anyway, we
Couturier
move on.
wishes.
On
All right.
to. So, after game one, Boston gets the OT victory. Tonight, though, Carolina responds, going tit for tat, tying up the series here in a close 3-2 battle. Gentlemen, after these two games with a tied 1-1 series, how do you think this plays out now? Do you see Carolina overcoming the adversity of refs and stuff like that and moving on to the semifinals? And in their history, Boston doesn't lose in the first round. I mean, Carolina doesn't lose in the first round. Apparently, you go through their history, they don't lose in the first round. That's
True.
either they go to the semis or the Eastern Conference Finals, or it's nothing for them, or they just miss altogether. So, do you think Carolina keeps that trend going? Or do you think Boston, are they officially turned on? Are they officially going to the semifinals and the Eastern Conference Finals now, like everybody automatically assumed they were going?
Rob, I'll let you handle this first, buddy.
We don't know what the injury situation is with Pasternak. Normally hockey is generally general when it comes to releasing information with injuries, upper body, lower body, and now we're not even getting that in the midst of the COVID pandemic. So it's really going to boil down to what his situation is. Being your top goal scorer, being one of the league's top goal scorers, that's a void in your lineup that you just cannot fill. And especially a team that's not as deep as former Boston teams have been. I'm going to stick with my guns, despite Boston winning the game one, and as we said, alluded to before, those teams being 72% successful to taking a series. I still say Carolina has enough scoring depth. It just depends on what kind of goaltending they get in Peter Mrazek. If he can just be, make the steady saves, maybe a spectacular one here and there, but not even that, just be, make the saves that you need to make. I think Carolina will be successful. It's not going to be as easy of a series as I thought going into it. I actually had Carolina winning in 6 games. I think that now goes to 7, and I'm going to stick with my original pick and say Carolina moves on.
I like it. Matthew Tkachuk coming off the ice, not being able to put any weight on one leg, so I'll keep an eye on that for us.
Winnipeg fans are probably jumping for joy right now.
Oh, probably. Although I don't think that was a dirty hit on Kachuk's part. I don't think he meant to take out Scheifele. But
Scheifele has even come out and said it wasn't a dirty hit. So
yeah. So I mean, you can even tell, like when Scheifele skated off the ice, you saw Kachuk skate up to him and say something to him and give him a little stick tap.
Yeah.
So you could tell that if he intentionally did that, he wouldn't have done that. But anyway, so I think there's going to be a couple of factors here. I think Boston does wind up winning. They do have, like Rob said, they're not as deep as they were or have been, but they do still have guys who can score goals, which means without Pasta, you're going to need guys like Marchand to step up, who had a goal tonight. You're going to need the defense to play strong in front of Tuukka, like they did for the most part. Let up a weak goal to make it 3-2 to Dougie Hamilton. So the thing about Carolina, and this is where I don't think they're going to win the series, is, you have a platoon system set up in net, and you saw Mrazek in game 1, who struggled a little bit. You saw James Reimer, who played a little bit better. You're probably going to be your starter in game 3 on Saturday. It usually doesn't make for a good situation because, platoon teams typically don't win Stanley Cups. You need to find that one guy, name him your starter, and rock with him because it just never works out. Because a goaltender never gets comfortable, and that's a big thing. And Tuukka's been in the situation many times before, so he's comfortable back there. You need a guy who's gonna rock. You're gonna rock with, and that's gonna be a huge part in why I think Carolina winds up losing this series. It's gonna be a deep series. Don't get me wrong. Carolina is a very good team. They got a very good defense in front of them that's finally starting to play well. Jake Gardner's getting back into form. Sami Vatanen was looking pretty good tonight. Just, I don't know. Boston's experience, I think, is gonna take them in this series, and then you're gonna see Carolina go home after 6.
Okay, then. So let's take a look and let's see what the fam has to say here. Joe is saying Canes in 6. He also has a comment about the Blackhawks and the Vegas Golden Knights. I thought the Blackhawks would push that series to 6, but it looks like Vegas is going to sweep. We'll get to Vegas and Chicago in just a quick second. And let's see here. Anthony's saying, I think the Canes win the series because they play good defense and play with lots of heart.
They do. And they're faster than Boston. I'll be the first to admit that. They're very much faster than Boston, but Boston's physicality can very easily, stop that. And that's one thing Boston does really well is hit people.
And then the final one is David Roska saying Hurricanes will win the series against Boston. So there's a lot of Hurricane love in here. And let's take a look at this one. Yeah, see what you did there, Rob. Prism, dang, what playoff team looks like it needs to revamp its roster the most so far?
So far? Oh, God.
Let me see here. This field.
I know the answer's easy for me. Arizona.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe Arizona on the offensive. Defensively, they've been really good defensively most of the season. You just can't seem to find consistent goal scoring.
Right.
I would say Washington. They need to get younger.
Yeah.
That's a good answer too. I like that.
Yeah. Or even if you want to include the qualifying round, Pittsburgh Penguins. We talked about that last week. I think that's what they exactly need. Not a rebuild, a revamp.
Yeah.
Bring in. Maybe cut ties with Malkin and elevate guys on your team like a Jake Edsel, like a Brian Rust, and infuse some of your younger talent from your juniors and your AHL team.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Completely on board with that. I like that.
Okay, here. So we go from Boston and Carolina, and we move on to. Let's take a look at Washington and the Islanders. This was game 1. What?
I feel bad. Derek Anderson just tripped into the boards.
Oh, ow. James Schulhoff the third saying Boston dropped 1 to the Hurricanes. Tough one. Yeah.
That was a tough one for Boston.
Yeah.
But so we have Washington and the Islanders here. This is an interesting series because you have Barry Trotz coaching against his old team that he won a cup with. And let's just say it this way, Trotz doesn't forget his team by any stretch of the imagination. Now, started off fine in the second period. First period, back and forth, a little bit of feeling out. Second period, Washington gets goals. Looks like, okay, Washington may take a little bit of charge in this series. Then the third period happened. Boy, that third period changed everybody's opinion on that one because the Capitals looked absolutely toasted in that third period by the Islanders. Wow. It was like watching that one game the Flyers fucking smoked the Capitals like 3 straight periods on. We won like 5-2 or something like that. It literally looked like that in that third period. I was like, oh my God. I just saw Washington just hammer a freaking nail into its coffin right there. Good God almighty.
Oh, no doubt about it. You saw the sloppy giveaways came back to bite them in that third period, and it resulted in at least 2 of the 4 goals for the New York Islanders. But you got to credit the Islanders and their speed. And I knew that Washington wasn't going to be able to match their speed. I just thought that the lack of defense that this Islanders team was showing in a Brian Trotz system, as we saw in the regular season, yeah, you can get off to a hot start in these playoffs with with that speed, with that scoring ability, Matthew Barzal and the likes of, we talk about Anders Lee having a great game. But in the end, the Islanders broke down. And that's what I expected to see within this series and overall within these playoffs. But they got stronger in the game. So, I mean, to, Islander proponents like Frank and Joe, they do have a real shot in this series. Much to my, initial chagrin of picking the Capitals because of that sloppiness and because of that speed game, because boy, they were on full display in that third period.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I've slept on the Islanders in the qualifier. Listen, I'll man up. I'll eat the crow. I overlooked them. I thought Florida was by far the better team. Kachuk is back on the bench, so he seems to be fine. They're a much better team than I gave them credit for, and you saw that in game 1. Despite being down 2-0, still managing to put up 4 goals against Braden Holtby and the Capitals. Braden Holtby is still, in my opinion, a top 12 goaltender in this league, if not maybe top 10.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to continue doing what they're doing, playing with their speed, utilizing it. Players you don't expect, like Anders Lee, to play with some physicality, who took Nicholas Backstrom at least out of game 2 with that hit, which, I don't think it's suspend worthy. I don't even think it's fine worthy. Thought it was a clean hit. It was just a very late hit. It's good bump. But after that, you saw Anders Lee get into a couple fights, one with Tom Wilson, one with John Carlson. So, you want to see your leadership. You want to see your guys that you don't really see that type of play from really jump into that action. And then he gets a goal on top of it. Come on. Players love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially from their captain. That's part of the reason why he put the C on him, because he's not going to back down. He's going to be that guy who's going to step up when need be.
Yeah, get your team juiced.
Yeah,
it juices your team up. Yeah, absolutely. And that definitely helped. And actually, Anthony has a comment, too, about Washington. It says, it looks like Washington is a one and done. They win one cup, and now they don't want to try and win another one. I don't know if they're not trying. I just think that they're just getting older, and it's starting to show they're getting older. And that's ultimately what's killing them. Now, Ovechkin may not be slowing down, but the team around him is slowing down. And that's what's really killing this franchise right now. And Rob, remember the Islanders. Oh, hold on a sec. Rob, remember the Islanders are still very young and a lot hungrier than Washington.
Oh, I hear you, Anthony. I mean, Josh Bailey is one of my favorite players, certainly one of my favorite fantasy players. He definitely, puts up some good peripherals. But their offense I'm very, very keen on. And they do have a lot of youth or what have you. But I was mostly talking about the blue liners who are not short in the tooth. I wouldn't say they're exactly long in the tooth, but they're about in the middle range there. And we're not playing well towards the latter half of the season, the regular season before the pause. And I get it. It's a brand new season, but in the first 2, within that Florida series, I saw it at times. And within the first, 2 periods against the Capitals, they were showing those kinks in the armor of the defense. So, they're going to have to lean on, the fast skating young forwards to carry them in the series. And can it carry them to a victory over the Capitals? Sure it can, because, they won the Cup last year. They had a nice run. They had all the pieces working together. It doesn't mean that they were set up to win for many years in a row. Quite the opposite.
I think a couple years ago, back when Washington really became relevant again and really started, winning more and more and more and getting to the playoffs more consistently, I think that was their prime to really win the Cup. They never did. So come 2018, they finally get it. And I think they finally get it when the window started to start closing a little bit. And you're starting to see it every year. It's closing and closing. They need to act now before they wind up having to, completely tear everything down. Start bringing some younger, talented players. Jacob Vrana is a really good player. And I really like him in Washington. He fits in well. But, I think to Anthony's point, and I completely agree, the Islanders are younger and they're hungrier. To Rob's point, they're faster. I think that ultimately is what's going to happen. And I got the Islanders winning this series.
Yeah. It's hard to argue against the Islanders, at least at this time. I think the Islanders win this series too. I think Washington, they're kind of in the same boat that Pittsburgh's in. Even though Washington did manage to avoid having to go into the qualifiers, them and Pittsburgh are not too far apart from each other in terms of might need to start thinking about making some moves here. Maybe get some draft capital here because expiration dates are coming up. And when they do, they play havoc on teams. We're seeing it in teams like LA. Starting to have havoc on them where they have to now pick top in the draft. Yeah, but there's not that many old guys on Anaheim.
No, I mean, there's enough.
Yeah.
Guys we need to get off a contract that can't get off contract yet.
I got you. Okay,
the only relief we have is getting rid of Patrick Eaves. Thank God. He was good when he first got traded, and then he just couldn't stay healthy.
That's true. All right, so we got the Islanders and the Caps done. Now, Tampa Bay and Columbus. Okay, so Game 2, Columbus responds. Game 1, though, 5 overtimes. By just a couple of minutes and some change, they miss out on the record that was set by the Penguins and the Flyers. Not the longest in NHL history, the third longest. But still, though, what a game. 5 overtimes. Despite Mike Milbury being miserable, it was a great, great game. And I'm going to say this now. I think Tampa wins this series. I think this win, Columbus responded the way they should have. And John Tortorella is a very resilient coach, and Columbus is a very resilient team. But I think Tampa getting a win like that's going to give you such a boost. And on top of it, too, Tampa, from what happened last year, that's got to sting. That had to sting them all year, all offseason, to see the playoffs go into the semis. They're not there. Into the Eastern Conference Finals, they're not there. They're not in the Stanley Cup Finals again. With the team that they have, they should have been in the finals again by now. And to have been swept by Columbus, that has to sting. That had to sting. So I think that they're going to take that, and I think they are going to win this series. Not just on the 5-0T. I think it's just from the fact that they don't want what happened last year happening again, not to Columbus again. Any other team but Columbus at this point, So I think that they do take this series.
I don't. I like Columbus in this series very much. You saw the resiliency here in Game 2. They played. Listen, after the 5 overtime game, I get it. Like, guys are going to be tired. Columbus had the jump from the get-go, from puck drop. Columbus had it. Yeah, Kucherov got his point. Kucherov got the first goal fairly early on. It was more like it was just a pull shot off of Korpisalo and then the net. But that was it. After that, Columbus took off. And we know that John Tortorella is a very good defensive coach. We know Korpisalo has been a very good goalie since Betts has his third homer of the night. Lucky for those guys that have playing him in DFS. And offensively, there's still some questions. Cam Atkinson didn't play, but that didn't seem to matter because they still got the offense going. And I gotta say, Alex Wenberg's goal today, which I believe was the second goal of the, or it might have been the third goal of the day. Dipsy doing around 2 defensemen and a pure power move to the net and beating Vasilevsky. Oh, it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. But here's why I think, and I'm going to get close to the camera here. Here's why I think Columbus winds up winning. Seth Jones. Remember that teaser I was giving you earlier?
Yeah.
This is This is it. Seth Jones is one of the most underrated defensemen in all of hockey right now. Only 25 years old. Ever since going to Columbus, kind of jumped off the radar a little bit. But the kid played 65 minutes. And you know what? He didn't look tired. Not one bit. And today, still getting out in front, blocking shots, clearing out the front of the net. You know, giving his goalie an opportunity to not give up any rebounds or, you know, letting anybody clog up his vision so he has clear sight. You know what? Seth Jones is going to be the difference maker in this. And yeah, I mean, again, he was on the team last year, but defensive teams win championships. And when you have a defensive leader like Seth Jones, who's playing at a high level, way under the radar, it says a lot for your defense. And that's why Columbus wins, because defense wins championships. That and, you know, not having Stamkos hurts a lot. And you know what? They got swept with Stamkos, so what's that tell you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Seth Jones. You know, certainly not unheralded, not under the radar for me. But yeah, for the large masses, 100%, Brian. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you're talking a man that second in ice time during that 5 OT game to Victor Hedman. And
no, he was first.
He was first. He did play more minutes than Hedman?
Record.
Oh,
Victor
right
Hedman
on.
played 57, and Seth Jones set the record with 65. The record before that was like 63 and change.
Right on. You know me. I get facts right like 1 out of 10 times. But
right, dude, I'm the same. Don't worry. It's all good.
But in either event, though, the point is that playing all those minutes, he looked like he could have played 3 more overtimes when they were showing a shot of him over on the bench. I know exactly what you meant when you said it because I saw it myself. And yeah, this guy was a high draft pick, making, dividends in this series. And yeah, he could be the key for Columbus here. I just think that, and I hear what you guys are saying, minus Stamkos, maybe they don't have a chance or as much of a chance as they had, as we were projecting going into these playoffs of maybe making it to the Eastern Conference Final and beyond. But there's still, you got Braden Point, Tyler Johnson, Nikita Kucherov. I mean, this is enough pieces for most teams to win. I get it, not having Stamkos is big, but they haven't had Stamkos for a very long time. Core surgery similar to Sidney Crosby, and the rehab is very unpredictable in terms of your time coming back. So, obviously, like all the injuries, they don't say much, so it's hard to make an assessment. We didn't know Victor Hedman was going to play in Game 1 up until like an hour before the game. Getting Victor Hedman back was huge. I think if they were minus both Stamkos and Hedman, I could say, yeah, I think Columbus pulls this out. I still think Tampa Bay will pull out this series to avenge last year's sweep. But I think what did I have this originally? I had this originally at 6 games. Bump that up to 7. It's going to be a barn burner all throughout this series.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that Columbus is going to need to do to stay on top of it is because, you brought up a great point that I didn't. And Maddie, I think Maddie brought it up too. But, the depth of Tampa is there because they still got guys who can score without Stamkos. Yes. But Columbus doesn't have that kind of depth because, they lost for the most part all their stars this past offseason. And nobody expected them to be where they are. I sure as hell didn't expect them to be where they are. But they need guys like Seth Jones to be able to step up because Jones also has that offensive ability. He's a quarterback on a power play. He's the guy to go to on the penalty kill as well. One of the things that they need to do moving forward is keeping Tampa Bay off the power play. Because we know how dangerous that team is. And it's clear. And, anybody who watches hockey knows Tampa Bay, they're one of the best teams in hockey, one of the best offenses in hockey. But what a lot of people don't know is Columbus is also one of the better defensive teams in hockey.
They are.
And, they showed today that they really are. And they can contain that Tampa Bay attack. And I think you're going to see a lot of that again in Game 3 on Saturday, which I'm not sure what time they're playing. I think they got the 3:00 game again. But I respect the decisions on Tampa. I just think Columbus's defense is going to be the difference maker and why they move on.
Now,
Playing
with
7:30.
7:30. I was gonna say if they're gonna get 3 o'clock games in a row, that's kind of messed up. They should be alternating
now
like everybody else.
now let's just take that equation there. Let's say Tampa does get eliminated by Columbus again in the first round. Tampa doesn't get any further than that. Do you start seeing this organization making moves and saying, why the fuck have we not gotten back to the Stanley Cup Finals since we lost to the Chicago Blackhawks? Why the fuck do we constantly choke in the playoffs? Why is this happening? Do you see them start to really evaluate this situation and start maybe firing a coach, maybe getting rid of a GM, maybe start making some moves player-wise? What do you think could happen if Tampa gets eliminated? Because this has been happening for the last 5 years. This isn't just off. This is 5 years of this team not getting the job done. Constantly shitting the bed at the most important clutch moments. And yeah, you could say they had good teams they lost to, and you're not wrong, but that still doesn't make up for the fact that this is a team that should have been in the Stanley Cup Finals again, and they have missed so many years in a row. At some point, I got to wonder, when's this organization going to say, okay, we need to start doing something about this because this is absolutely unacceptable right now?
Well, with the way the season started for Tampa Bay, you heard Cooper's name being brought up in the hot seat. I think if it's a first round elimination, I think you see Cooper gone, and I think that's really the biggest move that they make. Maybe a trade here and there, but Cooper's going to be the big one. They get a new head coach.
Yeah, plenty of talent on the ice. I think if you're getting bested by the same opponent 2 years in a row, that's all on the coach. Where is your adjustments? I get it that certain matchups, you only have the skill that you have on your team, but that's with, run-of-the-mill teams. Tampa's one of the elite. They have all three assets of the game, and you're having trouble 2 years in a row. I mean, Cooper, one of the longest tenured coaches at this point. Hasn't he been with Tampa 10 plus years?
He's been with them for a while. I don't know exactly how long. It's especially been during this 5-year stretch. I know that.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's about that.
Right. But I mean, he has been with the squad for a while. Yeah, you get a new voice in there, especially if there's a first round exit. Now, I think it might have been Joe or it was Anthony had asked who would we prefer as Flyers fans. I mean, you'd have to say Columbus, right? Or are you getting sort of more of an evil from a team that now is 2 series deep with that confidence coming in? I'll still say Columbus for my sake.
I mean, the thing is, it's tough because, I'm going to say this now, that 5-0 tier, it may not affect them immediately, but at some point it's going to hit you. The fact that you just played 3 games worth of hockey and now you got to try and continue to keep up that, at some point it's going to hit you. Yeah, Columbus is younger, and that's probably why they were able to, in this game, shrug that off and keep going. But at some point, that's going to wear your ass out. When the Flyers did it, it wore them out. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals and blew a 3 fucking games to 1 lead to the New Jersey Devils. So,
Real quick, Maddie, I got to tell you, I put together this little gift post for Fire Brimstone and Flyers Nation, where I basically had the gif of Jim Halpert looking through the blinds with a little smirk on his face, and I wrote, me watching all these Eastern Conference teams go to multiple overtimes. To be funny, but also, yeah, when you're talking about energy level, granted, in a normal playoffs, you're coming right off the regular season, so that could depreciate a lot more quickly than, say, after this long break, but it's still going to happen, especially when you're playing a lot of games in close proximity, which they have as part of this 2014 tournament. So playing extra periods, playing extra games in this case, yeah, that's going to pay dividends down the road in the negative sense.
I get where you guys are coming from, but what's fortunate about it is now they get the full day off. They're going to relax, and then they don't have to play again until 7:30 that night. So they're going to catch a break. They'll probably have the day off tomorrow, and then they'll practice during the day at some point. and on game day, and they'll get their rest. They'll get back to.
I mean, they'll get rest.
The series, like down the road, yeah, I agree with you. This 5 overtime game is going to catch up with either team, but in this series, I don't think it's gonna. All right, Joe, man.
And I was referencing like a second round scenario where we would face off with, say, the winner. But anyway, keep going, Brian.
If you're going to go down that route, yeah, absolutely, I agree. It's going to catch up to them eventually, but it also depends on how quickly they oust Tampa Bay as well, or vice versa. If they oust them in 5, and these other teams are going 6-7 games, it's not even going to wear. They're going to be able to get their rest. So, there's different variables you got to think about as well, involving that 5 overtime game, because I don't think the reason why the Flyers ran short on energy was, it was a best of 7 with the 5 overtime game. And then you hit the Devils, and this all of a sudden, boom, you hit that wall, man. You hit that wall and you just die. They never got that time in between to really rest up either. So, that's going to play a huge part in how quickly they end the series.
Okay, then. So we move on from Columbus and Tampa Bay. We switch over to the other side of the bracket in the West. And we start off with St. Louis and Vancouver. Very exciting matchup that we had here. Game number 1, Vancouver looked good. St. Louis, they were finding their game a little bit, but it seemed like they were a little flat going into this game. And it kind of showed. Vancouver was setting the tone for the young team rolling in up against the defending champs. They always had the lead. They never trailed in the game, which is a great step for a young team that is coming into a playoff situation that's new to them. They're going up against a team like St. Louis, who's the defending champs, and to always have the lead, never trail in the game, and then in the third period kind of take charge, get a 2-goal outburst, and then after that get the one that sent it home, as Rob sent in the group text game blouses at the end there yesterday.
You like that? My gift work is legendary. Legendary.
Yeah. I still remember that Rambo one that you sent when I was thinking, I don't know what a poll question is. When you sent that, I just imagine you just creeping up behind somebody's like, I have a poll question. Like, oh, what the fuck?
No. You were chatting with Brian, and you were like, yeah, last week when Rob was MIA. And that's when I put Rambo coming in, and obviously the connection there is famous.
Yes. I love that Chappelle episode where he's supposed to be Prince. Okay. Yeah. Let's go. Skins versus blouses.
But yeah, so St. Louis, Vancouver getting a big win here. Game number 1. Now, St. Louis, of course, they can easily rebound from this. They are the defending cup champs for a reason. But after this game 1 victory, how do you see this series playing out? Do you see the Young Bucks eventually coming out on top here and moving to the semis? Or do you see the Blues eventually shut it down, get themselves, get their game, get in their groove, and move on to the semis and continue their Stanley Cup defense?
Bob, you want to handle first?
Yeah, I was waiting for us to get to Vancouver. Where I'm going to start, the big takeaway I had from game 1 was not even evaluating the game, but it was a very emotional moment for me with Troy Stecher scoring a goal for his pops, who died earlier this year. Sadly, ironically, on Father's Day, passed away. For those, Brian's right with me here in terms of those that have lost a parent, to be able to honor them. And reading the story, I think him and his brother found a letter from his dad that his dad never sent. And he had never known about it, going through his stuff, about encouraging him in his young career and to go out and score a goal for him. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now, let alone the goosebumps I had during the game. So
I'll say this, though, Rob. I thought it was a great moment for Troy. And what makes it even better is it was the GWG, baby. You can't get any better than that.
Truth be told. Absolutely.
Yeah, brother. Absolutely. I would do the same thing that Troy did if I was in his position. So
right.
It's a great moment for him. I completely agree with you.
Now, shifting that into the, analyzing the series, Vancouver was already playing well coming in from the qualifying round, and I could kind of see why. Much like the Flyers with Oscar Strong, I'm sure his teammates were rallying around Troy, and to honor his dad. And it's just when you play with that emotional factor, it's like no team is too big to take down. And let's face facts: St. Louis Blues have not been playing their best hockey in the round robin and so far in this series. I did originally have St. Louis taking the series in 6 games, and this is a series that I'm going to lose on my bracket because I really feel like Vancouver's on a mission, and it's great to see. It's great to see. Like, I was a little sad when Edmonton didn't make it in, because you'd like to root for teams like Edmonton and Vancouver who have this world of talent, but have classically floundered and not seen their full potential. You like to see teams see their full potential.
Absolutely. So I've been having issues with my short-term memory lately, and we were playing around with this earlier. My long-term memory is fine. Back in the preseason, when the season first started, one of the things we went over was our preseason rankings, where who's going where, our predictions for the year. I've been high on Vancouver all season long, and there was a point where they were in first place in the Pacific. I'm like, all right, you see, like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Well, I'm still very high on them despite where they are in the standings, and where they are in the series. This is a very fast, a very talented team that can hurt you at any moment. You got guys everywhere that can score. You have guys on defense like Quinn Hughes that's very hard to contain. They're very, very fast. They have physical players as well, so they can play the grit game. They can play the grit game with St. Louis. Now, Matty, to your point, they did come out flat. But towards the end of the first period, into the second period, St. Louis really started to find their groove a little bit.
Yeah.
Getting physical, getting in guys' faces, using some speed to the advantage.
He did the low blow stick check to Roussel. I'm not gonna lie.
I hate that guy.
I cried laughing when he did it. I'm like, oh my god, Troy Ballard low blowed him with the stick. I just started laughing my ass. I was like, because Roussel does that, so it's not surprising that Brouwer did it to him. But anyway,
I'm talking Ric Flair style right there. 30th player in the game.
No, I agree. Couldn't happen to a worse guy. To Damien Estrada's
Put that comment back up. Leave that comment up the rest of the show, Frank. Yes. Yes.
He's always
Damien, you are a smart man.
By the way, hey,
he's overrated. I'm not saying he's overrated, but while I will say he's past his prime, Chicago needs a new goaltender. And they had one and they traded him away.
True.
Anyway, all right. Back to St. Louis and Chicago. Or Vancouver. God, I'm all over Chicago right now.
Well, don't worry. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Chicago in a minute.
But with St. Louis, they need to find that physical part of their game again. And the problem with physical teams is when you're playing a fast team, it's hard to catch them. But when you do catch them, it usually hurts.
Right.
We know St. Louis has the talent. We know, they have a good defense. They have a good goaltender in Jordan Binnington. But here's the thing about Binnington. He led through a lot of soft goals that were on him. Not on defense, not bad position, not it. Soft goals on him, which I hate to take his thunder away because it was a great moment for Troy. Troy Stitcher's goal was something that he should have stopped.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Yeah, I mean, it's Slapper that just ran underneath his pad, not even 5-hole. That was laziness.
Yeah, he didn't get all of it. He had just enough.
Or divine intervention, I'm just saying.
Could be. No, absolutely. No. Listen, I'm a believer in that stuff.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, Vancouver, I think Vancouver is the better team in this series. Definitely younger. Definitely not as experienced. But I think they're the better team. And a lot of people are going to call me nuts for it. But, it is what it is.
I'm not one of these people in this case.
St. Louis took it easy in the round robin. Goes to show you how serious they took it.
Right.
And how thought it was probably going to be a cakewalk for them no matter who they played.
It's like the ratio is the comparison is Boston to St. Louis. in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hearing from the way you're describing Vancouver and from what I've seen is Vancouver Islanders West.
I was thinking more Carolina West.
Oh, well, then the similarities are perfect for that scenario. But you're talking about young, fast skaters. You know what I mean? And sort of that makeup. It does have a lot of parallels to the Islanders. But yeah, you could see a perfect symmetry between Carolina and Boston in this series. No.
Yeah, no, I absolutely can. And you know what? That's what I love about Vancouver is how young and fast they are and how skilled they are.
Right.
Ironic.
If you can, right.
But does Vancouver have a lead singer of a band on their team?
I think you do.
Yeah, not St. Louis. I mean, not like St. Louis does.
No, not like St. Louis does, but I think Elias Peterson is a guy. He's either going to be Elias Peterson or Quinn Hughes.
By the way,
in case people, go ahead, Matty.
I was going to say, by the way, Bo Horvat absolutely made the freaking Blues defense look like absolute trash when he scored his goal.
True.
Both.
In case people are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, St. Louis Blues have a player named Rob Thomas, and his nickname's Matchbox 20. I think that's one of the best nicknames in hockey going right now. It's great when you shorten the name to like Provy or Lavi or whatever, right? But they just call him Matchbox 20. That's beautiful.
Yeah, Rob Thomas is good. He's a good player, but
sure.
Ask him about his experience at Stanley Cup Parade.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, true.
All over himself. Poor guy.
So
can't hold his own.
Moving forward, we now have from St. Louis.
Wait, time out real quick.
Sure.
Real quick. Final point. Teams these days don't really repeat. And that's another reason I'm picking Vancouver. St. Louis, I don't think St. Louis gets back.
Gotcha. Ironic, though, that the teams that win 0-3 in their round robins are the two Stanley Cup finalists and champion from last year. It's kind of funny when you think about it.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Boston on the East, St. Louis on the West. But
maybe what we're seeing here is that despite the 4.5 months off, there's still that hangover in effect because you're right, Brian. This tournament is one of the most grueling, and you don't see those dynasties, those repeat. I mean, the last team to win back-to-back was Pittsburgh Penguins, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a little while ago now. You know what I mean? So, and even that was pretty rare. And if you're comparing them to the Edmonton Oilers or the New York Islanders or Montreal Canadiens, especially when you go back to the Canadiens, smaller tournament. So, yep.
And I think even before that, I think Detroit may have been the last team to go back-to-back.
Yeah, before them it was Detroit doing 97-98.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that
never happened. Bullshit. I erased that from memory. What happened? What are you talking about? I had that deleted.
They only won a cup in 98 against Washington. That's the only cup they ever won, and in 02 against Carolina. But anyway,
listen, you got to give. Listen, you can delete it all you want, but let's be real here. In 97, Flyers beat 3 teams they probably shouldn't have to get to the Stanley Cup final.
Well,
and they were out of gas at that point. And
No. They had an easy run to the Stanley Cup final, and that's what killed them in the long run. They outplayed the Penguins in the first round. They outplayed Buffalo, and they outplayed New York. And then they faced Detroit, a team that had to go through Colorado in a dogfight. And basically, Detroit was ready. They said, you guys are like Colorado. We could fucking eat you alive. And that's exactly what they did. They ate them alive.
They were but I will say this. Go through the path. Like you just said, Pittsburgh, Buffalo,
New York.
Think about how good those teams were then. Think about the legends. Legends on those teams.
The Rangers were good, but they were old and they were outplayed by the Flyers, and because they swept them. The Sabres, they didn't have Hasek in that year, and that's what killed them. If they had Hasek, that series would have been a lot closer than it was because they finished them off in 5. And then
who was the goaltender that year then?
Shields, because Hasek got hurt in the first round against Ottawa.
Right.
And then in the first round, Pittsburgh, they were a tough team. I will give them that. Pittsburgh fought as much as they could, but they only could get it to 5. The Flyers they outdid them at the end of the day. And I think also Garth Snow outdueled Ken Reggett anyway in goal, and that's the only reason why. But with that, Back to the modern era.
Speaking of, quick update, Dallas 2-1, started second period.
Gotcha. All right, then. So, on to Dallas and Calgary, the team that the game that's currently going on right now. What are you thinking about this series? Because Calgary came in, they intimidated and just beat the shit out of poor Winnipeg. Like, I felt bad for them watching that. I watched Game 3. I saw the faces of Winnipeg. I saw a broken team. They were broken in that game. Like, they just looked on their face like, we're not beating them. We can't beat them. They just killed us. Like, and Calgary did. They beat them in 4. And they come into this series, and you're thinking, okay, they're not going to be able to intimidate Dallas, but they outplayed Dallas in Game 1. And it's like, ooh, I don't necessarily blame Khudobin. I more blame the team effort that was in front of him. What are you thinking is going on with this Dallas-Calgary matchup?
Well, I mean, I think Khudobin was an issue in that. He's not that. He's a backup for a reason.
He's not Bishop, but
no, he's not Bishop. Unfortunately for Dallas, Bishop is back in tonight. But I think you're right. And Calgary just flat out outplayed him. Dallas defense gave him too much space, too much ability to work with the puck. We know that Calgary's fast, but Dallas is fast as well.
True.
I do like the defense on Calgary a lot more. But Cam Talbot isn't going to light the world on fire for Calgary, so it's going to be a long series. Dallas needs to get the depth scoring going, and I think that's going to play a huge dividend. Oh, that's right. Oh, I always forget that you're a Cowboy fan. Anyway,
I'm actually I was speaking on the Stars. I'm a very pro Stars guy as well. Which is,
I can't hate that.
I can't say that I actively root for him because hockey's different. I can root for multiple teams, maybe in football, but hockey, it's your team and everybody else sucks. But
especially in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But I think defensively, I like Dallas's defense as well. I think it's gonna be very even series. We need to see Dallas's offense really wake up. We saw what Calgary can do against Winnipeg. We saw what they could do in Game 1. So their defense is starting to come together a little bit. Matthew Tkachuk, Sean Monahan, Johnny Gaudreau, who happy birthday, Johnny. Is, I believe 23 or 24 today. Maybe a little bit older. I'm not sure. But, we see shots on goal, 17-7. Dallas is getting more shots on net than they did in Game 1. So they've made the adjustments defensively. So I got Dallas in this series. I don't know if Calgary's going to be able to hang with a team that can play as physical as Dallas does.
Actually, 27 today. I was surprised to see that.
What?
Older. Yeah, according to Google search here real quick.
He's been in the league that long?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, time flies, brother. Time flies. But one thing's cool, and I said this in the comments. It's great that Gaudreau shares birthday with my older brother Joe today.
Happy birthday!
I won't say his age. I don't want to call. I want to date him like that. But yeah, happy birthday, Joe. Love you, buddy.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Joe, and happy birthday, Johnny.
I'm not going to let anybody know when mine is. So
50.
Huh?
50? Yeah, we know you're 50.
I'm not talking about my age. I'll be 35. I'm not saying when my birthday is.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to hide your age, so I was just trying to goat you.
No, I ain't trying to hide my age. I'm okay with 35.
All right.
I'm not as old as Rob.
Oh. Damn. I'm the one who did it, too. And you go after Rob.
Ain't nothing but love.
Okay.
I deserve it. I should get more hate on this show. Matter of fact. So you keep it coming. You know what I mean? I'm an asshole. I need more hate.
Yeah, I'm the nice guy, and I'm the one that gets all the hate. I don't get it.
I know. It's how life works.
But
for Dallas, though, a big shot in the arm is getting Benny Bishop back, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, huge shot in the arm. But, Bri, you are right, though. Dallas does need to get their depth. And that's exactly who I was going to say. Sagan needs to get going. he absolutely needs to get going in this series. Jamie Benn only just got his first goal in that last game. I'm like, why the fuck is Jamie Benn only just getting his first goal? Like, Jamie Benn needs to be scoring. Tyler said, you need to get your offense going here because you have a really good offense. We know you do. We've seen it. Now it's time to show the world that you have a good enough offense. And Calgary has great offense too. That's the other thing. And we talked about how much they hit and they just kept hitting Winnipeg. We forget they have great offense in their own right in Calgary. So it's like you got two teams that have bodies. They can throw the body around, but they also have the skill to back it up. So Dallas needs to get that skill out, and that's what's really killing them right now.
And he may be a bastard, but Milan Lucic is playing like his Boston days in so far in the playoffs. He's got he knows that, his time, to get a ring, or another ring is fleeting. So
yeah.
Sagan on a breakaway, just missed 5-hole.
Let's see. Anthony saying Winnipeg needs a coach now. Yeah,
I like Paul Maurice.
I mean, it's hard to really blame him for what happened with Winnipeg, only because he didn't have his players. Like he had a lot of them were hurt, if not all of them. So it's just like they had nobody up against Calgary in that qualifier. And then Anthony saying I like Dallas. And he also was talking about 97 along with us. He said Shields played good, but Buffalo didn't have scores. That's true. Buffalo did not have goal scorers. They were a defensive team back then. Then again, it was also coached by Lindy Ruff, and it was backed by Dominic Hasek. So you're going to be a defensive team when you got that. But let's see here.
Lindy Ruff, who's back in the league coaching for the New Jersey Devils, which is amazing.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The one thing I think Dallas needs to do, especially to beat Calgary. Oh, there's another goal there.
From who?
I didn't see.
Radulov?
Okay.
No,
Heiskanen. Miro Heiskanen getting his second of the night, I believe.
Okay, he's showing some life here. Nice, like it.
It's actually ironic because I was going to bring up this point. Power play had just ended. They need to get their power play going.
Yeah,
wow,
that definitely. Yeah. And then Prism saying Rupe Hintz is pretty solid for Dallas as well.
Yeah, I like him.
Oh, yeah, he's a good player. But yeah, I mean, Calgary wanted, a big, chink in their armor is Cam Talbot's your starter. I mean, he should be a backup. You know what I mean? So goaltending, I think, is going to cost them in the end. That's why I did pick Dallas, despite a lot of people going with Calgary. That was a famous upset. But I have Dallas winning the series in 7.
Yeah, timely timeout too. Wow, I could have phrased that a little bit better. 3-1.
No, I like that. I like that alliteration. I thought that was
timely timeoute.
Yeah,
timely timeout. That should be a new segment.
I hate when I use the same word twice. I hate it.
But, I know what you mean.
But Damien saying you almost love me to keep my picture on the stream that long.
you can.
Frank, he just.
It was the comment. It was the comment. But Frank, you can take it down. No, I was joking before. I just have a long disdain for Corey Crawford.
Wow, but Calgary and Dallas are going back to back. They're playing again tomorrow night.
Ooh. And then Prism saying you all three goons with hearts of gold.
So Arizona, Colorado at 2, Philly and Montreal at 3. So those are your early games tomorrow.
Okay, so final 2 series we got to go through here. So we go to our 2-7 matchup. The Colorado Avalanche and the Arizona Coyotes. It was a Darcy Kemper show for Arizona for a little while there. And and
he got canceled.
And then Philip Grubauer, he shows what he's made of as well on Colorado's end. Scoreless game all the way to that very end into that third period. Third period wreaked havoc on Washington, and it sure as hell wreaked havoc on Arizona. Colorado took full advantage of Arizona just falling right apart there. It's a shame because you know what? Your heart kind of breaks for Arizona a little bit. You're just like, man, they were going toe-to-toe with them. It looked like maybe they can steal this one. Nope. Colorado said, fuck you. You don't get to steal game 1. We're taking game 1. And they did that in the third period there. What are you guys thinking about this series? Do you think that after this Game 1 victory, is Colorado going to take charge and win this bad boy? Or do you see Arizona rebounding and possibly turning this into series, maybe doing a shocking upset like they did in the qualifiers against Nashville?
I don't think Arizona has much of a chance. Colorado is way too good. They're top of the league in most categories. They are the best offensive team in hockey, in my opinion, and they showed it. And they scored 3 goals in under 2 minutes last night. And most of them coming from newcomer Nazem Kadri, who's spending his first year in Colorado. So, they're going to get the depth scoring from the guys they need the scoring from. Defensively, we know they're sound. Goaltending, we know is good. Arizona, we know they're good. They're very good defensively, and they have a decent goaltender. But the problem is the offense there is too inconsistent. And we saw that on what's today? Today's Thursday. We saw that yesterday.
Yep.
And, that's going to come to a problem because in order to beat a team like Colorado, you have to be able to outscore them because they're going to put goals in the net. And I don't think Arizona has the offensive power to do that. They have good players. They have Taylor Hall, Phil Kessel, but those guys have been pretty non-existent since, the qualifying round started. A couple goals here from Taylor Hall, maybe one from Phil Kessel. You need to get goals from these guys. You need these guys to step up and really start lighting the lamp. I don't think you're going to see it. Colorado wins this one in 5. I think Arizona gets 1.
All right. Robbie.
I'm not even giving them 1. I had before the series started, I had picked Colorado in the sweep, and Game 1 did nothing to change my mind there, despite excellent goaltending for the first 2 periods. You bring up a great point, Brian, in terms of one thing I gave the Avalanche a lot of credit for their skilled players, but the depth of their scoring may be second to none, and that's coming from the perspective of a Flyers fan that has plenty of depth of scoring. Nazem Kadri, you brought up a great name there, banked a goal. I didn't even realize they had Kadri. I'll be dead honest with you. That's a great asset to have in these playoffs, as is Mikko Rantanen as well, who chipped in with a goal in that game along with JT Compierre. I just don't think Arizona can match the depth in scoring. The one chink in the, I keep on saying chink in the armor. That's my thing. Opposed to Maddie's, but
take a shot.
I'm not a huge fan of the goaltending in Colorado because they got 2 guys that are playing well. Maybe even extremely well, but it's a scenario where I much prefer having that clear-cut starting guy. But leagues change, games change. We saw the NFL adapt, to where more of a 2 running back style, where you don't have that lead back anymore. Maybe you don't have that lead goalie anymore. We've seen some success there. But I'm just a hockey purist in that when you have 2 decent to good goalies, you have 0 goalies.
No, I agree with you because if you look back at, just over the last 5 Stanley Cup winners, how many of those guys platoon goalies?
Right.
Maybe 1.
Which is Pittsburgh, and that's arguable.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly where I was going, Matty. But I agree. You need the clear cut one. I think they're going to rock with Francois or whatever the hell his last name is, Francie. And I think they should because I think he's earned the time. And he looked really good the other night. But, it is what it is. I think Colorado is the team to beat in the league. I think they are the Stanley Cup favorite. And I think within good reason they're the Stanley Cup favorite.
All right. And
Prism
was saying Prism saying Dallas 3-1.
Yeah, Dallas up 3-1. Another goal by Miro Heiskanen. And Calgary is currently on the power play.
All
they
right,
are
then.
6 for 18 in the playoffs so far, so they're a little under 50%. Thanks, Rob.
All right, now let's see here. Final matchup of the day. The Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Nice.
Nice. And the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks, nothing to lose. Go through the qualifier, defeat the Edmonton Oilers, who emphasize offense over defense, and that came back and bit them in the ass. And now they are here in the playoffs. Like, okay, we got here. Now what are we in for? Unfortunately, they're in for the Vegas Golden Knights. And the Golden Knights, they're not playing any of that shit. They're like, no. You had your little fun with Edmonton, but that shit's not happening here. You're facing us. We don't give up leads. We hold them and we win series. That's what we do. Good luck. Have fun with that shit, Ed. That's pretty much what Vegas is saying right now to the Chicago Blackhawks after winning 2 straight games. Well, they did win an OT today, but
there's a flaw to what you just said. Because Vegas had their 3-0 lead today and blew it.
Yeah, okay. I will admit that was the one flaw. But yes.
I love this. Listen, I'm a big fan of Patrick Kane. You guys know that. I would love to see him win another. And I know you guys don't. And I know a lot of people want Chicago to get back to the Stanley Cup so the Flyers can beat them and get revenge for 2010. But Vegas is a team that is continuing to show that they were built to compete right away. And they are still that team that to beat in the West. Obviously Chicago and Vegas hopefully will be, well, they're going to reseed. So maybe, they'll see each other in Western Conference Finals. So hopefully they'll see each other in Western. I think that's going to be a hell of a series. But, Chicago, as good as an offense as they have, and good young talent, a good young nucleus they're putting with the old one. Defensively, they're still kind of old. Corey Crawford is showing that he doesn't really have it anymore. With Vegas, they're getting scoring from everybody. Riley Smith, who I thought was a steal in the expansion draft, showing up. 3 goals in 2 games, including the OT winner today. So, they're getting guys to step up. And I think that's going to be the ultimate reason why, they beat Chicago. Vegas is faster. Vegas is better.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, man. I mean, we saw a great show from Showtime and company. Notice how I put 2 of the same word together there to make you feel better. In the first round. And you know what? I kind of expected that. They come off this long break. They're veterans, and Taves and Kane are very well rested. And they Shanghai an Edmonton team that, let's face facts, have gotten shanghaied very often in their history. Yeah, there's Kaner, scumbag. Not you, King.
No, I know. Love it.
I want to specify for the fan. I ain't gonna call
Showtime, baby.
My fellow host,
Showtime.
But
three helpers.
Right, absolutely. And now we're back to the normal standard Stanley Cup setup, and this is a classic 1-8. You know what I mean? And you're seeing it in terms of Vegas's just dominance. I mean, even though they allowed that comeback today for it to be tied, they still held on and won it in overtime. So I initially had this series pegged in 5 games for Vegas, and now being up 2-0, could it be a sweep, Bri?
I don't think so. I think you do get one out of Chicago. Chicago might get game 3, riding a little bit of confidence going in after their comeback today. So I think that's the only one they get.
Right.
But I mean, if you look at it, it's a kind of a David versus Goliath kind of situation here. Because Vegas is just so good. They're deep. They're better defensively. They don't have one. They have 2 good goaltenders, and they're going to rock the better one right now.
Right.
Robin Lehner's on point.
Right. And what's odd is that total 180 for Chicago, they're used to being the Goliath and not being David. So, the shoe's on the other foot now.
Yeah, I mean,
or the skate in this case.
All right, so just a little perspective for you. So at the trade deadline, they sold off some pieces, Robin Lehner being one of them, which is kind of ironic that they're playing Vegas right now.
Right.
this was a team that wasn't expecting to be in the playoffs, and now they're in the first round. I mean, they're kind of riding a little bit of a high on that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe
I'm
that's
sure
how,
they wish they had Dylan Strome back.
I bet they do.
I mean, pardon me. I mean, Nick Schmaltz. They got a Dylan Strome from the desert.
Oh, right. I got you.
Yeah. Just because Nick Schmaltz was a little bit more experienced than Strome, you know what I mean? Could carry them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing the young guys in Chicago step up. Kirby Dodge looking good. Dominic Kubliak had a great game. I mean, they got the talent there. I just think they need to work on defense. They need to get themselves a goalie, because Corey Crawford ain't going to cut it against a team like Vegas, who can hurt you in so many ways. And despite the giving up, they had the bad second period, which, every once in a while it's going to happen. A team's going to tag you in a period, and Chicago tagged them. But Vegas came out in the third, and, they pretty much, the third period was, I think the third period was theirs. A lot of scoring opportunities. Corey Crawford did come up big in the third period, but come overtime, overtime was all Vegas. Vegas. And, they got the goal. Riley Smith sneaking up behind the Chicago defense. Corey Crawford had no shot. There was no shot. Riley Smith, it was game over at that point.
So we got Bry's opinion on that. Rob, you gave yours on that series. All right, then. So you gentlemen have Vegas moving on?
I have Vegas in 5.
All right, then.
That's what I originally had pegged. Oh. Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead, Rob.
That's what I had originally had pegged in 5, but I actually, after them going up 2-0, I'm going to have to amend that to a sweep. I mean, maybe Chicago does still hold true to that original assessment and steals a game just based on their experience, but I don't see quite how right now.
Yeah, I don't either. Calgary's kind of buzzing right now.
Okay.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Trying to get back into this game. 7:45 left in the second.
Yeah, you see Matthew Tkachuk taking his place out in front of that like he does. That would have been a goal. That would have been a high stick.
So with that, folks, that will do it for this edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We thank everybody for viewing and watching today and commenting in. We appreciate you guys' love and support. And if you want to show some more love and support to A2DRadio.com and not just the Hockey Happy Hour, you can buy that lovely shirt that Brian's wearing, or this lovely shirt that I am wearing, or even one of those nice shirts that Rob is wearing right now. You can get all your A2D merchandise where, Bri?
Philly Drinkers LLC, baby. Hats, T-shirts. Support your show. Support the station. Support us. Yeah, Philly Drinkers LLC, baby. They got all the A2D gear you want.
Maddie, real quick, dude, just because this came through on the wire here,
Sure.
It has been confirmed that Claude Julien is going to miss the rest of the Canadian series with the Flyers after experiencing those chest pains. So, certainly supports your guys' assessment of it being a cardiac event. And Kirk Mueller will take over as head coach for the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, like I said earlier, best wishes to Claude Julien. Hope for a fast recovery. Speaking of recovery, Calgary just scored, make it 3-2, 7 minutes.
And on a positive note, to end off the show, Oscar Lindblom is officially up in the bubble with the team. He hadn't seen them yet, but now he's there. And now the boys, they have their brother in arms, none other than the great Oscar Lindblom, who has not returned to the hospital after his final pair of treatments there. So great on him. Cannot wait to see him, do some, pregame practice skates with the team, enjoying, just spending time with his guys. And hopefully that'll continue to spark the Flyers moving forward in this year Stanley Cup finals.
And that's why he's here. I mean, there's no other reason. Some people are getting the illusion that he may play in these playoffs, and that's just not. I mean, some people say, why would they waste a roster spot? Well, it's not wasting it. it gets him rehab time to skate with the team and to be with the teammates that they've all worked in his honor for all season, to be that motivating factor that we talked about before, like Troy Stetcher with Vancouver. I think it's a great move, but don't expect him to. The body cannot be ready to play, especially after being. Yeah, there's no way.
He's still weak. He's still trying to build his strength back up. He's lost weight, so he's got to get his weight back up. He hasn't skated in all season.
Right.
He's up there for morale purposes.
Right. Off the ice contributions, which are just as important.
Absolutely. Like Maddie said, it's a brother in arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
It's going to be a huge factor regardless. And besides, you don't want to mess up the mojo right now. No. You don't. Who do you take out of the lineup right now? Everybody's contributing. Yeah. It's not like you have one guy that's not contributing. You'd be, all right, let's put Oscar Lindblom in. I had a guy tell me, and I'm going to keep him, anonymous, say, oh, yeah, well, what if they put him in for a shift or two? Why the fuck are you going to take a guy out of the lineup for a shift or two? Mm-hmm. He's not going to play until next year. He's still got some work to do on himself before he can get considered hockey ready.
Yeah. But nonetheless, though, great feeling there for everybody to have the news that he is officially up in the bubble. Definitely a big boost for the Flyers and for the Flyers fan. Remember, we love you, Oscar. We're standing with you 110%. Hopefully everything is good to go, and by next season you're back in an orange and black jersey scoring goals and kicking ass and taking names like the Flyers do. And with that, that'll do it. And Prism also said, I start a new job this weekend. Going to possibly miss different shows depending on my schedule, but I'm going to try and get all 3 Hockey Happy Hour shirts sooner or later. Well, we appreciate that, brother. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. You can always catch us on demand. You can download our podcasts on, all the venues that offer podcasts. We're on all of them.
Yeah, brother.
Obviously a big fan of YouTube. You can watch us anytime. We love you being live part of the show. You're like the 4th man in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we just want to shout out to TedFX, McFlurry, who joined in on us as well at the very tail end there. And Go James. Thank you guys for commenting in. Did not get to you guys, but hopefully I'll get to you next week. All right, then. We thank you all for joining us here on the Hockey Happy Hour. We were brought to you by not just Philly Drinkers that has our awesome merchandise, but we also are brought to you by Ambuck Services. Listen, man, as we continue to slowly calm down on the coronavirus and, some people are enjoying a little get-together. Nothing crazy, just a couple people over or what have you. Because remember, the goal is to keep the curve flat, not have it increase. But if you're going to have a couple people over or what have you, you still want to have your deck all nice. You want to have the trees trimmed, the bushes taken care of, so that all you got to do is pull out the good old lawnmower and just rev it up. Take care of the back and the front lawn, and then you put it away, and then your neighbors come over and be like, God damn, man, did you do all this yourself? You could say yes if you want to, but really, you shouldn't. You should give absolute credit to Ambuck Services, and you can reach them at 856-879-5530. Make the neighbors want what you got. A nice deck, nice front and back lawn, all taken care of. That's what they'll give you guys. So, with that, folks, we will see you next week. We'll have plenty more hockey to break down. We may or may not be out of the quarterfinals. Depends on how long these series go. We may be in the semis by then. Who knows? Maybe the Flyers will have eliminated the Canadiens by then. One can hope. With that being said, though, guys, we thank you very much, and we will see you next week. Matt Sassuti, the Darkwing Brian Daly, the Broken One Rob Povia.
Time to watch my future ex-wife, Assie Harrison, on Tacoma FD.
Nice. Love it.
Love this show. You all. Love her, too. Oh, my God.
How you doing?
Perfect.
Yeah, as Rob would say.
Perfect.
Freaking a bombshell that could chug a beer faster than any one of us. You gotta love it.
There you go. No better place to a man's heart than chugging a beer faster than you. All right, guys. We thank you for joining us for this edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We will see you next week right here on A2DRadio.com. Peace, love. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Wear your mask. And take care, everyone.